Howdy YouTube pards, Jack Spade back here again, High Noon Leatherworks, and we're at the final episode of the Hand of God holster. So we'll wrap this up today, we'll have a finished product, and then we'll move on to another project. So thanks for coming in today, and we'll get started. I'll pull you in close and I'll explain to you what we're going to do today. Alright, so today we're going to finish up this project of the Hand of God holster. And I told you at the very beginning of episode 1 of this project that I was going to put my own little twist on it at the end. I haven't forgotten that. I ordered something really special. If you've ever seen the Hand of God revolver, it does have a cross on the hand grips. And I found a concho that matches. So it's a brass gold color cross on, it looks like an antique silver medallion. And I'm going to place that on the hold down strap right in the center, so it'll match the gun. So it should be pretty sharp, and I'll show you that at the end when we get it all together. I'm also going to be using a small punch today. I'll be using some 3/8 rivets. Be using 2 of those, and then I'll be using a rivet setter, and then of course I'll be using my mallet. So let's go ahead and get started. And first thing we'll do is we'll punch our holes in our hold down strap for our rivets, and that concho is going to fit perfect in the center of that. So we want to make sure that we put these holes in the center of that strap so we have plenty of that leather holding on all the way around the rivet. And I am hitting it on using my granite because it does make a nice solid surface to hit that. But I am putting a very thick piece of scrap leather down first. I don't want my punch hitting my granite, so it'll go through and then hit that piece of leather on the back side. And then I just kind of tap on that a little bit, flatten that out in case it swelled up a little bit around where it punched. You can see the holes, nice, perfectly round holes. Next, I want to punch my holes in the back strap of the holster. And kind of give me an idea where I'm going to put my rivets, slide my holster through there. And I want it centered left to right. And I can hold down on one side, open that back up, Then I can take my little pointed awl tool and I'll just draw a little circle through my hole. I'll fold that back around, holding that in place. Hold the other side, open it up, and draw my mark or my circle through the other side of the strap. So what that does is that gives me a really good mark, or two marks there where I know I need to punch to match my hold down strap. So grab my punch again, right on those marks. I will flatten that out just like I did on the strap, because these punches are tapered, so once you get through, if it's fairly thick leather, it does kind of spread that out or puff it up. So you can just take your mallet, flatten it back out. And then the first rivet's not going to be that difficult to do because it'll be open. The more difficult one is going to be the second one, once you have to curve it in. It's going to make it a little more difficult to get to, so may need to maneuver a little bit to put that rivet in. But I'll take this rivet. Actually, I can take both of them, go ahead and put them in through the back side. Remember, I do have my rivet setter, so I don't want to smack down just on the I'm going to have to take that one out. I'm just going to do one at a time. So I want to make sure I get my rivet setter, the bottom of it, underneath the backing there. Make sure I get the right side that I'm going to use for the top. And then put my strap on over the rivet. Put the top piece on. Pop it on the rivet. Then take my other end of my setter. Put it as square as possible on that rivet. I normally hit them 3 times. Don't ask me why, it just feels like once I get that third hit, it's nice and solid. You can feel it. If it's still giving a little bit and you want to keep pushing out or hitting it down on there. And you can see there's the back side and there's the front side. So now is when it's going to become difficult, because I'm going to have to get the rivet through, back, wrap the strap around, put my set her down. At the top of the rivet. Make sure I get it lined up. Once I get it lined up and pressed down on there, I can take the other end of my setter, and this is where it's going to become difficult. I'm going to have to actually hold that, move this back, and get on top of that so I can hold that strap at the same time. Like with my pinky, I'll pull that strap toward me so I can keep it straight as I'm hitting that rivet. It'll be kind of tricky. Alright. Got that rivet set. I guess I should have thought ahead and put my concho in there beforehand. It's going to make it a little tough, because I'm going to have to punch a hole in that. Let's see. Got these little scrap pieces of wood that I keep around, and I can slide those inside of that strap. Put me a smaller piece of scrap leather in there. And remember, I want this concho in the center of that. So I may want to measure that just to get pretty decent center point. Like 2.5 inches, so I'll go 1.25. Kind of eyeball that, laying that on top of there, and then I can go ahead and punch my hole. Almost through there. Don't want to go too far. There we go. That should have done it. There we go. Alright, so I'm through. That's my punched hole. Pull that piece out. Didn't come all the way out on its own. It could be because my punch is full. It's not full, but it may be stuck. Maybe pieces that I punched through that are stuck in that punch. I should have cleaned that out, but okay, you could see the hole that I have in there now for the concho. And this is a standard screwdriver, slotted screwdriver. So I want to make sure that the screw that I have, or the screwdriver that I have, fits the screw perfectly. Let's take the concho and the screw. Push the concho through the hole. Now again, the key to this is when you're doing a concho like this, you want to make sure that that hole is not too big. If you get that hole too big, you want it to be snug. You get that hole too big, I don't care how tight you screw that screw into that concho on the back, it is going to want to spin. So you don't want to have to deal with that, because you want that concho in there fairly tight. Sometimes I'll take just a little, in fact I'll do it right now. Take a little tiny bit of contact cement, and it doesn't take much at all, and I'll put it around that stud, that threaded stud on that concho. And what that'll do, that'll help set up once you tighten up your screw, and that'll keep that from spinning. As tight as my hole is, I can't imagine it's going to spin. Again, if you get a nice tight snug punch hole for your concho, then you won't have to worry about that. It's when the hole's just way too big. So I'll take my screw on the back side, my screwdriver, very carefully get that screw started. And that's the thing, once you get it started, it's not bad, but it's getting it started. And then once I get it started, I can go ahead and continue to screw that into that concho. If it doesn't want to go, then make sure you stop, back it out, and start it over. You don't want to cross thread that, because that'll ruin your concho. And then make sure that as you're getting snug, you turn that concho to where it's perfectly straight, the direction you want it. Then you can snug down your screw, check it, snug it down a little more. Check it. Make sure it's not turning on you. Kind of have to be a contortionist to use all your fingers to hold everything out of the way while you're using your screwdriver to tighten that down. And I can feel it getting really snug now. And again, it doesn't have to be so tight that you think, oh, I'd never get that off of there. Like, I should have checked it one more time. Because if it can get turned, there we go. Alright, got it snugged up. Right in the center, it looks sharp. So it's just going to add a little bit more to it, and you'll see it when I slide the revolver in there, what that's going to make it look like. So the next step, I've got my rivets in, for my hold down strap. Got my concho on. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of what I call wet form this, and the gun will fit in here, but it'll fit real snug, and uh, I really want that to be formed to that specific gun, so that once it dries, that gun will slide in and out of there real nice. And we may put a little hold down strap, so that, you know, if you were riding a horse or you were bending over or whatever, that's not going to come sliding out of there. That'll hold the hammer down, and that'll keep the pistol in the holster. So what I'll do is I'll run this under really warm water, and what that does is that softens that up. Then I'll go ahead and when it's soft, I'll go ahead and put it through the hold down strap. Then I'll wrap the gun in saran wrap to protect it, because I don't want the gun getting wet. And then I'll slide that inside the holster and just keep working it in there until it fits perfect. Then I'll just let it set for about 2 hours, and once it sits for about 2 hours, I'll take the gun out, and then I'll let it sit overnight to finish drying. Once after a couple of hours, it'll keep its shape, and I don't like leaving the gun in there overnight. Another thing that I'll do while it's wet forming is I'll roll, and I'll show you this on camera, I'll roll this edge, the outside edge where the gun will be, I'll roll that out just a little bit, and what that does is it makes for real easy sticking the gun back in there. It won't get caught, the cylinder won't get caught on the edge of the holster. So as you can see, it's kind of narrow, but as I wet form that, that'll open up, and then it'll stay that way. So I'm gonna go run this under some warm water, wrap up the pistol, and I'll be back when I show you how to actually wet form it. Okay, I got it all wet formed. Ran it under some warm water. Got the holster into the hold down strap. Got the gun with the pistol slid in. You can see how the concho matches the cross on the pistol. Makes it look really sharp. I think it just adds that much to it. It does darken the leather up a lot when you wet form it, but it'll come back. It'll come back to that brown color that we had before. So you want to make sure that there's no corners that are pushed up or anything. Let me see if I can get out a little bit here. Make sure there's no corners folded up or pushed up. Now this is where I do want to roll this and you can see, I hope you can see it, yeah, right there, where all I did is just take my thumb and my finger, and I'm gonna roll that and open that up just a little bit right there. And what that'll do is that'll dry like that, and what that'll allow, once it dries, that'll allow for that pistol to go in and out of that holster without the cylinder, the front of the cylinder, catching on the edge of the holster. So just little details like that are so important when you're making a custom holster. and it's so easy to do, but you have to do it at the right time. So when you're wet forming, that's the correct time to do it, and that'll dry like that with that lip opened, and that'll allow that cylinder to clear that top of that holster when you're going in and out. You can see the back, the rivets, the stitching that goes all the way around. So I did wrap this a couple of times. I haven't wrapped it real tight, but I wrapped it a couple of times with clear plastic wrap so that the metal part of the gun didn't get wet while it's inside forming the holster. So I think it turned out great. I hope you like it. I'm sure my buddy's going to love it because it turned out so good. So thanks for tuning in to see the completion of the Hand of God holster. It turned out wonderful. I'm sure my buddy will love it. And if you go back to the first video in this series, I have a picture in that video of the original holster. Take a look at it. See how we did. Compare it. I think it turned out really nice. May have to make myself one of those. So, thanks for tuning in. Come back probably next week and we'll start a new project. And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. So it'll be a surprise. It's going to be something totally different that we haven't done before. So come on back next week and we'll start another one. So thanks a lot for coming in, sharing this time with me. Please do me a favor, like, share, push that subscribe button, and thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.